One. What's up, AO gang? You already know what it is. AO Showtime, back with another video. And today, I'm going to be here talking about the Cavaliers and Celtics trade of Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving. Now, I know a lot of people feel like the Celtics won this trade with getting Kyrie Irving, adding another dominant scorer to their roster. But I think otherwise. I feel like the Cavaliers won this trade, and I'm going to tell you why. Let's get into the video.
Cause I feel like I'm falling while I'm dying, plans for the morning.
So this is why I feel like the Cavs won this trade. Now, let's first talk about the two main people in the trade. We have Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie Irving. I'm going to start with Isaiah Thomas, his strengths and weaknesses, and what the Cavs are gaining. Now, first, let's just exclude... I'm not going to exclude the fact that he's injured because that does play a big role in this trade, but this is the way I look at it. Without Isaiah Thomas, the Cavs are going to make the playoffs in the East. There's no guarantee Isaiah is going to be out for the season. Excuse me. There's no guarantee that Isaiah is going to be out for the season. As long as he come back around the time the Cavs are ready to play playoff ball, Isaiah is a great point guard to have during the playoffs. Just on the strength of LeBron and the rest of that team, they will at least make the 4th seed in the East. The East is very weak. You got to realize the East just lost Jimmy Butler and Paul George. Those are 2 All-Stars, 2 top 15 players in the NBA. They just went to the West. So the East is slightly weaker than it was last year, and the Cavs dominated in the East last year. So just with LeBron alone, they will make it to the playoffs. That's the first step, making it to the playoffs. Now, what the Cavs get in Isaiah, they get a dominant scorer. I'm not saying Isaiah is the best passer in the NBA. I'm not saying he's definitely not the best defender in the NBA. But they get exactly what Kyrie did for them last year. Isaiah Thomas averaged almost 27, or I think he did average 27. He almost averaged 28 points a game last season. At one point in the year, Isaiah Thomas was the number 3 in voting for MVP award. Now, I'm not saying he's a better player than Kyrie, but I'm saying they're not getting much of a drop off without Kyrie and Isaiah being at the 1. Kyrie is obviously, I feel like he's a better scorer than Isaiah, but not by much. I know a lot of people factor in the argument that Kyrie didn't have all of the shots in Cleveland because LeBron had a lot of the shots also, a bulk of them. But you got to realize LeBron also was a playmaker. LeBron made sure everyone on his team ate. He made sure everybody was full. Like, LeBron was not greedy. Kyrie, I'm not saying he was greedy. He did what he had to do to make sure the team won. But even before LeBron got to Cleveland, go back and look at Kyrie's seasons. Kyrie was never a great playmaker. He never set up his teammates to be better scorers or have better numbers or shoot better. He made sure he got his points, and that's why I feel like Kyrie never could lead the Cavs where they needed to be. He didn't make his team better. He was just better than everyone on his team, in my opinion. But here's now another thing about Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie both. They're both horrendous on defense. They get cooked by damn near everyone they guard. But let me tell you what made it work in their respective environments with the teams they were playing on. Kyrie had LeBron. Simple. That's all I gotta say. LeBron can guard any position on the floor. LeBron can guard the best player of any team and pretty much lock him down. LeBron's a great defender. LeBron can guard any player on any team, 1 through 5. Isaiah Thomas, on the other hand, in Boston, Isaiah had Avery Bradley and Jay Crowder. When those two were on the floor at the same time with Isaiah, it made up for the weakness that he had on defense. The Celtics made sure they had a team around him to where if he lacked on defense, that weakness could not be exploited by other teams, especially not by other teams in the East. And now the Celtics don't have Jay Crowder or Avery Bradley, and Kyrie is going now with no really intimidating defenders besides Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is a really good defensive player. He is slept on when it comes to defense. But Kyrie Irving is going there with no elite defenders to back him up like he had in Cleveland. Now, I'm not saying this will be the downfall of Boston, but I'm saying the environment does change. If Kyrie's not going to put in the effort on defense that I feel like he should, because he's very long, he's taller, he's average height for NBA point guard, so he should be able to play good defense. He has the stats and the body to do so. He just doesn't have an effort to play that side of the ball. He's more of an offensive guy, which I understand. My favorite player is that way, James Harden. He has the size, length, and body to play really good defense, but just chooses not to. But the thing was, in Cleveland, he had those backups He had the backbone of defensive players to make up for his defensive liability. Same thing with Isaiah. But the thing now, with Cleveland getting Isaiah Thomas, they also got Jay Crowder. They still have LeBron. So they still have guys that can play defense in place for Isaiah Thomas. Now, as far as the whole injury thing, let me get to that because that is a very big factor, and that's what everyone is weighing this trade on. Isaiah's hip. Worst case scenario, Isaiah is out for more than half the season. I'm saying out for like 7 months. He comes back a little bit after the All-Star game. Without Isaiah Thomas, the Cavs have a good enough roster to be top 5 in the East this year. Without Isaiah playing a single game, they have a chance to make the playoffs at the 5 seed. At the 5 seed or higher at that. The East has gotten very weaker than it was last season. Jimmy Butler's left, Paul George has left and went to the West. So the Cavs will still make the playoffs even without Isaiah Thomas on their roster. Even if Isaiah comes back towards the end of the season and just add to their postseason roster, that will be the worst case scenario. They come in at the 5 seed and run the whole playoffs with Isaiah Thomas in his lineup. Now, best case scenario, Isaiah comes at the start of the season, I'm saying around December, November, somewhere around there, and balls his heart out, and they make the 1 seed or 2 seed again. But another dynamic is added to this trade with Boston sending the Cavs their Brooklyn Nets pick for 2018. Now, the Brooklyn Nets did add D'Angelo Russell to their roster. D'Angelo is a great player to me. I really enjoy D'Angelo's game, but I don't feel like D'Angelo will take the Brooklyn Nets out of the lottery. That pick would be at least the top 5 pick in the 2018 draft. So let's say LeBron doesn't make it clear that he's gonna stay in Cleveland. The Cavs somehow found, with this trade, the Cavs somehow found a way to play through this season as a championship team, and if they need to, rebuild next year. Because they still have a top 5 pick waiting. They have Jay Crowder. LeBron can leave on that player option. It's his choice, but they don't have to have LeBron anymore. They can rebuild if they want to. It's the same way the Celtics were when they did get the Brooklyn Nets pick in like 2012, 2013. They weren't championship ready, but they were still good enough to compete and give teams a hard time in the postseason. But they just rebuild for no reason. They made sure they were ready to rebuild. Their future was solidified. And that's how I feel the Cavs are in this trade. I don't feel like the Celtics lost by as big a margin as the Brooklyn Nets did, but I do feel like the Cavs got the advantage with being able to rebuild from this trade if they need to. That's been all for this video. I'm Ayo Showtime, and I will see you guys next time. Sign in.